And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit. Thrilled to be back for the second part of a two-part series that I started last week, going through and giving my end-of-season's conference grades. Last week, I tackled the Eastern Conference. This week, back to tackle the West, and absolutely beyond pumped to do so. These serve as some of my favorite episodes to do across the course of the year. They always spark a lot of conversations and debates. I know there's been plenty of them across the socials this week: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. You guys have been coming with a lot of positive and somewhat negative reviews to my grades, but that is what makes the show what it is. I love hearing your thoughts, whether I get things right, whether I get it wrong. It's awesome that you guys come to me and kind of share your thoughts and perspectives as well. So as I get into the West momentarily, I hope you guys continue to do so as well this week. Before we get into things, though, as I say, week in and week out, a big thank you to both Stadium Scene and The Cover, both those networks continuing to showcase all of my work here, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Very appreciative of all their continued hard work and support. It is certainly very much appreciated. Alrighty, guys, let's not stand on ceremony. Got 15 teams to tackle here in the West. The West always tends to be a little more prickly. The grading as well, I just want to make you guys well and truly aware that for me, a C is a pass. So a C is a pass. Anything above is a positive season. Anything below is a negative. No, there was quite a bit of backlash to me giving the Milwaukee Bucks a D+ grading last week. That's purely for the fact that I thought they were a title contending team with the acquisition of Dame. Bowing out in the first round is, that is falling well below expectations. Hence, they got a negative grade in my eyes. Just want to make you guys crystal clear on that. I'm sure you'll still come at me pretty fast and furious, but just want you to know that's how my grading is working. Alrighty, let's get into things. Let's start first and foremost with the Dallas Mavericks. I've given them an A grading. Now, they finished fifth with a 50-32 record across the regular season. I thought Luka Doncic was absolutely stellar across the season, averaging 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists, whilst Kyrie Irving really embraced that number 2 well, terrifically. I thought as the season went on, he got better and better and kind of slipped into that 2 role really well. It wasn't so much a 1A and 1B type scenario. It was Luka's the unequivocal number 1 and Kyrie's the number 2, and they looked so much better when they kind of ironed that out. Thought the acquisitions of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford absolutely took them to another level and was certainly a huge reason as to why I think they went so deep in the playoffs. They outlasted the Clippers 4-2 in the opening round. They beat the Thunder in 6 in the semifinals, beat the Wolves in 5 in the conference finals before bowing out in 5 games in the NBA finals versus the eventual winners, the Celtics there. Nothing to sneeze at, though. I thought it was a fantastic season. I think they're in a really good place to build upon what they achieved this season going into next year. I think getting Klay Thompson is huge. Don't want to talk about it too much, just as this episode's about reviewing the season that was. But I think with the strides they made, they are one of the teams most dangerous, one of the NBA title favorites heading into next year. And this season, the 2023-2024 campaign, I think serves as a really great stepping stone into potentially an NBA championship. So Dallas get an A. The Denver Nuggets, I've gone with a B-. They had a stellar regular season, to be fair. They finished second at 57-25. I thought, though, that they were a team that looked as if they didn't really get out of first gear. I thought they were a huge chance to go back-to-back. They bested the Lakers in the playoffs 4-1 in the opening round before going down in a thrilling 7-game series versus the Wolves there. To be honest, in that game 7, the Nuggets, should I say, were up about 20 points at, I think it was into the third quarter it was. And for all money, it looked as if they were going to be marching in to the conference finals. Wasn't the case, and it kind of, bowing out in the semi-finals, I think for a team that looked destined to go back-to-back, they would be somewhat disappointed. Thought again, Jokic was stellar, another MVP award there, 26.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, 9 assists. Looked like the best player on the planet. He was simply sublime. That being said, I think they just looked a little off the pace, and their bench in particular. I think losing KCP really hurts them going into next season. And with the way other teams are retooling within the league, I think this was probably their best chance to win another title. Things are only continuing to get harder in the West, and with the way the Nuggets front office works, they don't like splashing out. They don't like investing too much money. I don't think things are going to get any easier for them. Yet, based on the regular season, I've given them a B minus. The Golden State Warriors finished 10th at 46-36 this season. I've given a C minus. A slight negative. They ended up losing in the play-in 118-94 versus the Kings, which put an exclamation point, or an ending point, should I say, on the Splash Brothers iteration of this team. The end of a dynasty, Clay moving to Dallas there. I don't think it was a great year for Clay personally, nor Draymond Green, who missed quite a lot of time, but not only choking Rudy Gobert, but also smacking out Yusuf Nurkic. Don't think Chris Paul really had a positive impact on the team when he played. It didn't really move the needle a hell of a lot. But I think the younger players showed probably enough to be positive about the Warriors moving forward. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, made really big strides as both a scorer and a defender, whilst Brandon Podziemski, Trace Jackson-Davis were probably better than expected. As I said, this is the turning point for the Warriors. As I said, they've kind of made the play to start looking more to the future. I think if Kuminga's there, you've still got Steph. Some of the moves they made this offseason, I think they've retooled really well. But this was kind of the first season that it felt as if they were in that transition phase. So, yeah, a somewhat disappointing year. Disappointing to not see the Splash Brothers go, not even out on top, but at least make the playoffs. So Golden State get a negative mark there. The team that certainly doesn't get a negative mark, they get a big positive in my eyes, is the Houston Rockets. I've given a B grading. Finished 11th at 41-41, going 500 on the season. They looked destined for a playoff spot throughout the season, or a play-in spot for that matter, before a 5-game losing streak to end the season took that away. That being said, I'm not giving them a down mark for that. I thought, as a whole, they were really exciting to watch. A lot of their younger players made big strides, in particular Alperen Sengun. He established himself, I think, as the guy to build around. 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Just incredible. Incredible. Whilst Jalen Green, I think, he found career best form the longer the season went on. Started a little bit slower, but as things started to build, so did he. I think complemented by Jabari Smith Jr. and Armin Thompson there. This is probably one of the most exciting young cores within the league. Now, we speak quite heavily about OKC in particular, a couple of these other teams with quality young guys. The Rockets probably don't get probably deserts their due. With Sengun, the strides he made this year, if that can continue somewhat next season, they're going to be really, really well poised to go quite deep in the playoffs, I think. I thought Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, adding those experienced heads into this fold, just that little more veteran experience, leadership, on-court IQ, whilst not taking away from these younger players, I think was huge to their success this season. It's probably the first season in a little while that I've actually felt super positive about where the Rockets are headed. I'm quite optimistic about them for next season. I think they're probably going to be a team that's quite high on a lot of people's league passes, and will certainly be on mine as well. Let's head out to LA. We'll start firstly with the Clippers. I've given a C minus, finished 4th at 51-31 on the regular season. They had a stretch from December through to February where they went 26-5. And at that point in time, they looked like a genuine title-winning team. Ultimately, they bowed out 4-2 in the opening round versus the Mavs, thus officially bringing an end to the PG and Kawhi experiment. If you're Stevie Ballmer, I reckon you're pretty pissed about how things have played out there. The money that was invested, the squad that was, at their disposal, they have fallen well short over the last couple of seasons. To not win a title to not even make the NBA Finals with this version of the team is a big disappointment. And it hurts. It's even compounded more so by seeing what SGA is doing out there for the Thunder at the moment. They gave up an absolute monster to get PG and to not bear any success. If I'm Ballmer, I'm ropeable. That being said, I thought James Harden looked really great for big parts of the season, being that pass-first point guard. Going to be interesting how it goes next season as he has to transition to be more of a score-first type guy, depending how many games Kawhi plays and how his health goes into next season. Going to be interesting to see what Harden, how he adapts his game. Overall, though, another season falling short of expectations, I think. The Lakers, the purple and gold, I found them really hard to grade. I've given them a C+. Finished the regular season at 7th, 47-35 on the year. They fought their way out of the play-in before going down 4-1 to the Nuggets in the opening round of the playoffs. It just felt like a really weird year. I thought LeBron and AD were stellar. Both played 70 games each across the regular season and looked like one of the best duos in the league. Unfortunately, injuries to the supporting cast hindered, I think, how good they could be and how high they were up the standings. That being said, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, as the season went on, all showed positive signs. They still looked a little off the pace of being a championship team, and that was evident in that series against the Nuggets. I'm hoping, though, I'm really hoping with purple and gold glasses on at the moment, I'm hoping they can prove me wrong because they're essentially running this back. They've been very, very quiet this offseason, so this is as good as it gets. I don't think Bronny James is the savior at all. Dalton Connect, I think, will be a very handy pickup, but again, he's a rookie. How much he'll contribute remains to be seen. But this team, I don't know how far they're going to go. LeBron's only continuing to get older, as great as he is. The West is only getting better. I think they're probably destined for another run in the play-in next season. The Memphis Grizzlies, they finished 13th at 27-55. I really feel bad giving them this grade because no team was hit harder by injuries. I've given them a D. Now, Ja Morant, the franchise star, he only played 9 games across the season due to suspension to start it and then injury. It was really downhill from that point. Steven Adams, who was then traded, he played 0 minutes. Desmond Bane played just 42 games. And the list of injuries just went on and on and on and on. They were rolling out G League lineups, and even the most hardcore of fans didn't know some of these players. I think, now I'm not the biggest Memphis Grizzlies fan. I'm one of the biggest fans of the NBA going around. But some of the players that they were rolling out, I had never heard of in my life. I think even Grizzlies fans would have been struggling to put faces to names. As a positive, though, I think Jaren Jackson Jr., he got, with all these injuries, he got plenty of opportunity to develop his game. And I think this should help. They should be better served heading into next season with just the strides he made in his game this year. With a healthy squad with Ja, Bane, Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey being the swing piece, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I don't expect them to be this low again over the next 5 years or so. I can certainly see them making a big push up the standings once again, but this year was just let's say a retooling year, a year hiatus before they make a big push for hopefully a championship. Minnesota Timberwolves, I've given an A-. They finished the regular season 3rd at 56-26. It was a real coming-of-age season. Anthony Edwards averaged 26 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists over the regular season. He only continued to get better in the playoffs. And as there were so many comparisons to MJ. He really did for big parts, look like the second coming of MJ. A lot of pressure arises with that, but he certainly stepped up to the plate. They had the league's best defense and just had the ability to stifle teams with size on both the perimeter and in the paint. The playoffs, they swept the Suns 4-zip outlasted the Nuggets there in 7, which I alluded to earlier, before falling to the Mavs in 5 games. I think somewhat like the Mavs, this season served as a fantastic stepping stone and it's going to put them in really good stead moving forward. All these teams we've spoken about throughout the course of history, teams like even Michael Jordan with the Bulls. Every great team has had to take playoff lumps before they amount to success. The Celtics, they won it this year, but how many years in a row did Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown fall just short, getting over the hump? I think the Timberwolves, this was a great season. They're taking some playoff lumps, and they're going to be a real force next year. So A- there. The New Orleans Pelicans, I've given a C+, finished the regular season 8th with a 49-33 record. Had moments where they just looked simply phenomenal, but lacked consistency across the regular season, which ensured that they stayed within that play-in spot. They were able to get out of the play-in there before getting swept 4-0 in the opening round by the Thunder. I thought there was plenty of positive moments from Zion, CJ, Brandon Ingram. Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, though, were probably two of the most exciting players and developed into probably the league's best 3-and-D combo. Pardon me. They were absolutely money this year, and I think with that core, bringing in DeJounte Murray, they're going to be a real handful next season. Health is undoubtedly the key, and if you can keep Ingram and Zion in particular healthy, watch out. I think their depth this season was second to none, which really helped them for big parts. That's taken a hit going into next season, losing Dyson Daniels and a couple, Larry Nance, a couple of these other players on the outskirts, hinders their depth a little bit, but their overall star power has gone up. Again, it's a slight positive this year for New Orleans. I think, again, another great stepping stone season. But now's the time to really put the pedal to the metal and go for it. The OKC Thunder, I've given an A grading, finished the regular season first at 57-25. Entered the league with the second youngest roster. And my goodness, they played beyond their years. Shea played at an MVP level, averaging 30 points, 6 assists, and a league-leading 2 steals per game, whilst Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren were both such big positives on the offensive end. Thought the rest of the supporting cast in Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, and co all played really well beyond their years too. They were able to sweep the Pelicans 4-0 in the opening round before falling to the Mavs in 6 games. Very, very encouraging though. Now, I've spoken at large about the Thunder being a team that's built not only for the future, but they are a team for the present. Not in my wildest dreams did I envision them finishing first this season, but it just shows how well they're going to be, how well poised they are moving forward. The draft assets that they still have at their disposal, they've added Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, addressed some of the needs that hindered them a little in the playoffs this year. Look out, I would not be surprised to see them finish as the number 1 seed next season and go even deeper in the playoffs. What a season from the OKC Thunder. Phoenix Suns receive a D for me, and it probably should have been a D-. Yeah, actually, I'm changing that on the fly, a D-. They finished 6th at 49-33. They went balls to the wall, and this was a title-made team. They fell well short. Getting swept in the first round by the Wolves is a horrible look. Bradley Beal played 53 games. Yet for me, and I said this a few times throughout the season, the fit with Booker and KD just wasn't there for me. I thought Grayson Allen, though, and Yusuf Nurkic had really solid seasons, but just being so top-heavy, their depth was compromised greatly and hurt them in the playoffs. With the firepower this team possessed, though, getting out of the first round was an absolute must. Getting out was one thing, but not getting swept is another. Offensively, they're incredible. Some of the league's best defensive players, undoubtedly, but defensively, they've got a lot of work to do this offseason, I think, if they want to be a contender in the West. As I said, teams are not getting any worse in the West. It's getting more and more competitive. I think the Suns are going to be 6th this season. I could see them falling off the pace even more. Let's move ahead to the Portland Trail Blazers. I've given a D. They finished 15th at 21-61. Expectations were pretty low for the Blazers once Dame left. The big hope was that the number 3 overall pick, Scoot Henderson, was going to be their next savior. This certainly wasn't the case. Had one of the worst rookie campaigns in recent memory. Out of 1,000 rookies over the last few seasons, his box plus minus was 937th. He averaged 14 points and 5.5 assists, yet his shooting efficiency and turnovers were below poor. I thought DeAndre Ayton averaged a double-double this year. It was quite empty stats, didn't really have an impact at all. And Anthony Simons only played 55 games. And now, for me, his health concerns are really, they're becoming a big problem. It's year after year after year that he's failing to reach that 60-game mark. And for a guy that's somewhat your franchise star, if you look at it through rose-colored glasses, 55 games is not good enough. Not a lot of positives to take out of this season if you're a Blazers fan. It's pretty bleak up there in Portland at the moment. The Sacramento Kings, I've given a C grading, finished 9th at 46-36. A slight dip on the season prior where they were able to break their playoff drought. They fell victim to the Pelicans in the play-in, though, losing 105-98, which ended their season a little more prematurely than they would have hoped. It was an interesting year for the Kings just in the fact that it looked like they tried to turn up a little more defensively. And for me, that didn't really work. They've now this offseason decided to double down on the offensive end, signing DeMar DeRozan and just fully embracing that let's turn each game into a track meet. 125, 130, 135 points. That is going to be their bread and butter next year. Thought Domantas Sabonis was fantastic, led the league in triple doubles, gained a few fifth-place finishes in many people's MVP voting ballot, whilst De'Aaron Fox and Keegan Murray, I think, had impressive campaigns as well. For me, it just felt as if the Kings' problem this season was that they, again, looked to go a little bit better on the defensive end, which isn't their MO. And probably that they didn't get much worse. It's just, again, teams around them got better. Hence, they get a pass mark from me here. The San Antonio Spurs, I've given a C-, finished 14th at 22-60. This season was all about Wemby. Pretty much anyway. He was just as good as advertised. He won Rookie of the Year, averaged 21.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3.5 blocks, and a tick over 1 steal per game. Now, I saw a note during the week that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he did this in his age 28 season. It's the only player in league history to average across the whole season these 5 statistical categories, like stats better than that. Wemby was nothing short of extraordinary. I can't wait to see what he does next year. If he's able to have that sophomore jump, scary, scary prospect to see how good he could be. Outside of Wemby, though, it was a very bleak season. I thought Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson were poor at best. There wasn't too much else to get excited for on this roster, except for probably Devin Vassell and Trey Jones in his age 24 season, dropping 10 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. But outside of that, though, as I said, there wasn't a lot to get hyped about. The most exciting piece is certainly Wemby, and it's nice knowing that he's going to have some competent players around him next season. If we see a dip in his overall, scoring and in these statistical categories, it wouldn't be a surprise, but it's going to be exciting to see what he does with Chris Paul, with a Harrison Barnes around him. They could be a sneaky, sneaky pick to make the play-in. I doubt the playoffs, but could be a play-in team. And finally, the Utah Jazz, I've given a D+, finished 12th at 31-51. Pretty average season from a record, standing, and expectation standpoint. But to be honest, despite the overall record, I thought this season showed a lot of potential. Lauri Markkanen looked like a borderline all-star again. Colin Sexton had the best season of his career. He looked really promising in Cleveland, but I think this season kind of takes the cake. He averaged a tick under 19 points and 5 assists in just 26.5 minutes per game. While some of the young guns that they got in the 2023 draft, Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, and Bryce Sessenbauer, all showed enough that I think there's positive signs for them all. In particular, Keontae George. His outside stroke is cash money. It'll be interesting to see which route they go. Should they trade Lauri Markkanen? I think that's going to greatly impact how successful / quick this rebuild will be there in Utah. Certainly a long, long way away from making any noise in the West. But yeah, there was enough. There were positive signs there in Utah. So that being said, I've given them a D+. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in and week out. That wraps up the second part of a 2-part series, going through and giving my end-of-season conference grades. Last week doing the East. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. And this week tackling the West. There you go. All that speaking's got a tickle in my throat. All attention now turns to the Olympics. I'm absolutely buzzing. They're starting today. Recording this one on Friday. Nice to have a little day off work there. The Olympics start today. The Aussies are in the group of death, matching up against Spain, Canada, and Giannis and Greece there. It is the group of death, undoubtedly. It's going to be a big, big task making it out of the group stage, but I have complete and utter faith in the Boomers. I can't wait. I hope you guys are excited for as Olympic basketball as I am. I'll be sure to keep you updated on how that plays out. So continue to stay up to date with all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok to get the latest news from not only the Olympics, but also the NBA and NBL as that continues to ramp back up. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. I need to go get some water after that just verbal diarrhea that I've offloaded to you guys over the last 25, 30 minutes. But till next week, though, have a fantastic week. Enjoy everything from Paris, and I can't wait to speak to you all again soon. Till then, take care.